Right, we're talking this morning about mitosis and meiosis, but before we do that, I want to talk about the cell. This is my general cell with mitochondria for respiration, my ribosome for protein synthesis, and I know it's an animal cell because it's got a cell membrane and no cell wall. But I'm focusing in on the nucleus, and I'm talking specifically about cellular division. Right, here is my cell. A normal human cell has got 46 chromosomes. 46 chromosomes look a little bit like this. Each one of those chromosomes contains millions and millions and millions of genes, which are parts of DNA which code for specific proteins. Okay? Now the first step to any cell division is that this stuff has to be multiplied, because there's no point copying my cell across with only half the DNA, because then you make sperm. And if you want to make your little toe, if you've cut it, then that's not useful. So my DNA, my genes and my chromosomes are going to copy. So I've got 2 copies of each chromosome. Here I've got 2 1As and here I've got 2 1Bs. Okay? Which puts up the total amount of DNA to 46 times 2. Which I can't do in my head, so I'm ignoring. My 46 times 2 DNA is now able to split into 2 cells. Okay? Now before that happens, equal amounts of DNA are going to go to both sides of the nucleus. So here I've got the exact same amount of DNA as I had in my original nucleus. Here, I've got 23 pairs of chromosomes, the exact same as I had in my original nucleus. So I can write down here now that there are 23 pairs. If I've got 23 pairs of chromosomes, then I can call them diploid, because it's the same amount of DNA as I had at the start of my cellular division. They are also genetically identical. Which is useful, because if you want to make more skin for your nose if you've had a graze, or if you want to grow some bone, if they're genetically identical, then they're going to do the exact same thing that my original cell did. For this, I will use growth and repair. Okay. These 2 cells we call daughter cells, not like physics where you've got daughter nuclei. We've got 2 daughter cells. Okay? And that's it. This whole process is called mitosis. So, as a little recap, in mitosis, I start off with 46 chromosomes arranged in 23 pairs. My chromosomes have to duplicate. Okay? So I end up with 46 times 2 chromosomes inside a big nucleus. For this nucleus to split, each of my chromosomes are going to move either to the left or to the right. So that when my nucleus finally does split and become 2 daughter cells, these are genetically identical. This is useful for growth and repair, because if you're trying to make skin, you need to make exact copies of skin cells. To have an exact copy, I need 23 pairs of chromosomes. And because that's the same as having the 46 original chromosomes, I can call that diploid. So my 2 daughter cells can be used for growth and repair, and that's called mitosis. Now, mitosis is a great way for making genetically identical cells. But let's just say you didn't want to do that, okay? If I've got a sperm and an egg, and each one has got 46 chromosomes, that's not going to work, because a human being needs only 46 chromosomes. This is 46 times 2 chromosomes, which is too much. So, I'm going to go back to this point here, where I've got my 2 daughter cells, which are genetically identical, and are diploid. Okay? And I'm going to draw them onto my new sheet of paper. So here we go, I've got my 2 daughter cells, 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay? And we're going to go through a second division. This second division is different to the first one though, because there's going to be no duplication of DNA. Okay? So I've just got a normal cell that looks like that. Okay? 23 base pairs of chromosomes. And instead of duplicating and splitting, they're just going to split. So on one side I'm going to have my 1A, and on my other side I'm going to have my 1B. This makes a cell with exactly half the amount of DNA as the original. Okay? So instead of having 23 pairs, I've got 23 chromosomes. 23C. Okay. These can now become my sex cells. Because they don't have the same amount of DNA as my original cell, they are haploid. They have half. Instead of 23 pairs, there are 23 chromosomes. These are not genetically identical because they have only half the chromosomes. And so, when I combine two halves, you make a whole, and that is the beginning of life. That is for sexual reproduction. Okay. Now, because I started off with an original cell that duplicated itself and split into two, and then each of these two cells did a further division, I've now got 4 daughter cells. Not daughter nuclei, like smelly physics. Okay. And this is the hard one to spell. You know the rest of that. Meiosis. Okay? These are haploid because they have half the amounts of chromosomes as my original cell. Okay? They are not genetically identical because obviously they've only got half, they don't have the whole, and it's used for sexual reproduction. And in meiosis, I have got 4 daughter cells, not 2. Meiosis, mitosis.